The Fear of Bravery. Henry had always been a timid man. He had grown up with a strict father who had instilled a fear of failure and punishment in him. Henry had never dared to take risks, always choosing the safe and familiar over the unknown. He had always been content to live a small, quiet life. That is, until he woke up one day and realized that he was unhappy. Henry was lying in bed, staring up at the ceiling when it hit him. He had wasted his life playing it safe. He had never pursued his dreams or taken any chances. He had settled for a job he didn't love, a relationship that was comfortable but unfulfilling, and a life that was devoid of adventure. Henry decided then and there that he needed to change. He needed to be brave, to take risks, and to live life to the fullest. But the fear was overwhelming. He was terrified of failure, of being judged, of being hurt. He knew that he had to confront his fear head-on if he was going to make any progress. The first step was the hardest. Henry had always been afraid of heights, so he decided to face that fear by going rock climbing. He booked a lesson at a local gym and showed up trembling with fear. But as he started to climb, something changed. He felt a rush of adrenaline, a sense of accomplishment, and a feeling of freedom he had never experienced before. After that first lesson, Henry was hooked. He started rock climbing every week, pushing himself harder and harder each time. He started to feel more confident in himself, more capable, more alive. He started to take on other challenges as well, like speaking up at work, asking for what he wanted in his relationship, and trying new things. But with every step forward, there was a voice in his head telling him that he wasn't good enough, that he was going to fail, that he should just give up. The voice was relentless, and it made him doubt himself at every turn. Henry started to wonder if he was really cut out for this new life. One day, while he was out rock climbing, Henry had an epiphany. He realized that the voice in his head was not his own. It was the voice of his father, the voice of his past, the voice of fear. And he knew that if he was going to truly be brave, he had to silence that voice once and for all. Henry started to practice mindfulness and meditation, learning to quiet his mind and focus on the present moment. He started to journal and reflect on his thoughts and feelings, learning to recognize when he was being driven by fear instead of his own desires. He started to surround himself with people who supported and encouraged him, who believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself. Slowly but surely, Henry started to feel more confident, more capable, more brave. He started to take on bigger challenges like traveling alone, starting his own business, and pursuing his creative passions. He started to embrace his mistakes and failures, learning from them instead of being held back by them. He started to live a life that he was proud of, a life that was full of adventure, passion, and purpose. Looking back on his journey, Henry realized that the fear of bravery was not something to be ashamed of, but something to be embraced. It was the fear that had held him back for so long, but it was also the fear that had pushed him to confront his limitations, to challenge his beliefs, and to grow into the person he had always wanted to be. The fear of bravery was not a weakness, but a source of strength, a reminder that there was always room for growth, for learning, for transformation. Henry stood at the edge of a cliff, looking out into the horizon, his heart pounding with excitement and fear. He was about to go bungee jumping, something he had never even considered before. But he was ready for the challenge, ready to face his fear once again and to see what he was capable of. As he jumped off the edge of the cliff, the wind rushing past his face, the ground disappearing beneath him, Henry felt a sense of exhilaration he had never felt before. He was flying, free from the constraints of his past, free from the voice of fear, free to be himself. As he landed back on solid ground, Henry smiled to himself, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had come so far from the timid, fearful person he had once been. He had grown into a brave, resilient, and adventurous soul, unafraid to take risks and to embrace the unknown. Henry looked out into the horizon once more, feeling a sense of gratitude for all the experiences and lessons that had led him to this moment. He knew that there would be more challenges ahead, more fears to face, more opportunities to grow. But he was ready for them all, knowing that he had the courage and the strength to face whatever came his way. As he walked away from the cliff, Henry knew that the fear of bravery would always be a part of him, a reminder of the journey he had taken and the person he had become. But he also knew that he was no longer defined by that fear, that he was free to be whoever he wanted to be, to live a life that was true to himself, and to continue growing and evolving for as long as he lived. The sun had started to set, casting a warm, golden glow across the landscape. Henry took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the fresh air, feeling alive and invigorated. He walked towards his car, ready to head home, but also ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. As he drove down the winding roads, the windows rolled down, the wind blowing through his hair, Henry felt a sense of freedom he had never felt before. He was no longer held back by his fears, no longer trapped by his past, but was free to live a life of his choosing. As he drove into his neighborhood, Henry saw a group of kids playing basketball in the street. He smiled to himself, remembering his own childhood and how he had been too afraid to join in. But now, he was different. He pulled over and walked up to the kids, asking if he could join in. The kids looked at him with surprise, but then eagerly welcomed him into their game. Henry felt a sense of joy and playfulness he had not felt in years, laughing and running around with the kids, forgetting about all his worries and responsibilities. As the game came to an end, the kids thanked him for playing, and Henry walked away feeling happy and content. He realized that bravery was not just about facing one's fears, but also about embracing one's inner child, letting go of inhibitions and having fun. As Henry walked up to his front door, he saw a small flower growing in the cracks of the pavement. He smiled to himself, thinking about how even the smallest and most fragile things could thrive in the face of adversity. He walked into his house, feeling grateful for all the people and experiences in his life that had helped him grow and become the person he was today. He knew that he would face more challenges, more fears, more doubts, but he was ready to face them all with courage and determination. Henry looked around his house, feeling a sense of calm and contentment. He realized that bravery was not just about facing external challenges, but also about facing one's inner demons, one's doubts and insecurities, and coming out stronger and more resilient on the other side. He sat down on his couch, feeling tired but also energized. He picked up a book he had been reading and started to read, feeling grateful for the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to be inspired. As he read, he came across a quote that spoke to him deeply. "The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." Henry realized that this was true. Bravery was not about being fearless, but about being willing to face one's fears and overcome them. Henry looked out the window, seeing the stars twinkling in the night sky. He felt a sense of wonder and awe, realizing how small he was in the grand scheme of things, but also how powerful and resilient he could be. He closed his eyes, feeling a sense of peace and tranquility wash over him. He knew that the journey of bravery was a never-ending one, but he was ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that he had the courage and the strength to overcome it all. That's it for this story. I hope you had as much fun listening to it as I did creating it. If you liked the story and want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story.